What if you can get everything you ever wanted? Never having to put in work or time. Nobody ever cared what you did, no matter how bad the act was performed. And you had the capability to get away with most things normal people couldn't. Would you hold the world in your hand and change it for the better? Or would you fall into your own power and become a version of yourself you never wanted to be? This is What If Deku Had a Quirk Called Privilege, and let's see what our main character would choose. Without any further ado, let's get into this video. Quirk description. Many of you might be wondering, what is the quirk privilege and what can it really do? So the quirk description would be destiny control, aka fate, control manipulation, bending, alternation, predescription, predetermined time. The user is able to perceive, shape, and manipulate destiny, allowing them to affect reality in several ways, both over and hidden. Many users have an object of physical manifestation of this power, common forms being a book, a spittle, and sometimes any type of cutting tool. But you'll find out what the main character's weapon is later in the story. Now when Deku was born, he was born special. Even coming down to when the doctors having to take him out of his mom's stomach, he never cried, and it always seemed that everything went perfectly right for his way. Nothing ever went wrong. Even where some instances where something should have gone wrong, even with taking him out the stomach, anything, nothing ever went wrong. Everything went his way. The doctors didn't know how to explain it, but what they did was give the doctor that was performing the surgery a promotion, because they've never seen a doctor do such a flawless job at it, but they didn't know what was really going on behind the scenes. Growing up, Deku, his mother, and his father would have a pretty rough time together. His father would be a little bit of a crazy person. Well, not really crazy, but he didn't really want to be part of the family. He always had something else going on somewhere else and never really seemed engaged whenever Inko was talking to him, like he was in his own other world. "What are you doing, honey? Hello, I'm talking to you." "Oh, I'm sorry. I was spacing out there," Deku's father would say. "Honey, you never pay attention to me anymore. Is there something you want to tell me? Because it's been 4 months now, and we have a child now." Deku's dad would get flustered, looking at his wife and say, "I'm sorry, honey, but just a lot is going on right now. I don't really know if I'm ready for this. If I'm ready to have a child, if I'm ready for any of this." Inko would have such dread in her face. "What do you mean? We've been playing this for so long. You even told me you love me so many times. Why are you doing this now, Hisashi?" "I don't know, man. I'm not ready." The next day, Deku's father would pack up his bags and really just wanted to get away from the whole entire situation and say, "I have to leave. I have to go somewhere else. I just have to." He would start making his way towards Inko and break her down the news, and she would break down crying, asking him over and over, "What am I going to tell Deku? What am I going to tell Deku? We have a son now. How am I going to grow up by myself? I can't do that by myself." Hisashi would just still look at her with a blank face, feeling very terrible, but knew he's nothing he could do for her, nothing he could provide, especially with the job he has now. After leaving the house, Inko would go to Deku and try to break her little child the horrible news that just happened. She knew he couldn't understand him, but she had to try her best. "I'm sorry. It's just us two. I don't know what we're gonna do." Out of nowhere, as if time was being stopped, everything would be reversed. Deku would start giggling and giggling. Everything would go back timewards. No one knew this, but Deku was a little shocked as an infant, seeing everybody moving in slow motion in a backwards manner. It looked very confusing. Basically, what would happen is that Deku's dad would end up staying because Deku's just privileged. He's basically just privileged. Somehow, some way, Deku's quirk was activated and was able to give Hisashi a whole nother job that he could never imagine himself getting. He'll become a top tier businessman for a top tier company, and well, now he didn't have a reason to leave his wife. He could stay. The whole entire events of him saying he was gonna leave would never have happened, and Inko would never know that Hisashi was actually gonna leave her at first, so everything is cool. As time passed on, another incident like this would never have happened, so they would never get a clear indication that Deku had a quirk, because even if it did happen, no one would ever know because everything would be rewind. I'm getting kinda scared that we haven't seen him use a quirk yet, Inko said to her husband. I know, I'm working tomorrow, so you and him have to get ready to go check it out. Inko would agree and tell Deku that they would schedule an appointment for tomorrow. Deku would be watching his favorite All Might video and would think to his head how whenever he gets his quirk, he would meet All Might one day. The next day, it was time to get ready. They would go to the doctor's hospital and would wait roughly 15 minutes. They were finally able to get their appointment booked, and it was time for Deku to get checked out. After it was done, the doctor would have a smile. I'm happy to tell you that your son has a quirk, and for what I've seen so far, it allows him to be extremely lucky. So from this knowledge, we will call his quirk privilege, because I wish I had a quirk like this myself. And if I didn't, I don't know what I would do about it. If I did, I really wouldn't be here right now. By the time the evaluations were finished, Inko would be tired and explain to Deku that she still had to do some evening errands with him. Deku would not protest with going to the mall, and for the next 15 minutes, that's basically where they were headed to. Over the car ride, Inko would keep congratulating her son on getting a quirk, and a pretty decent one at that. Deku would express how happy he is and couldn't wait to tell his father that he actually awakened a quirk. Inko would basically go around shopping, celebrating with her son, getting him snacks whenever they saw good ones, and having a mother-son bonding moment. While they were drowning in laughter and giggles, they would hear a loud bang in front of them, and the area would engulf in smoke. Stay behind me, Izuku. Mom is here to protect you. I'm scared. Are we gonna be okay? We're the heroes, and Inko would cut her son off from his rant and try to comfort him. While everyone else was running away, Deku was too scared to move and run with them, so that's why Inko couldn't leave. That's why she stayed behind. Give me your money, old lady, or your child doesn't get hurt. Inko heard a menacing voice come in front of her. It was the villain that broke into the mall. He was extremely beat up, and from what looks of him, he seemed to have a fairly decent quirk at that allowed him to get more muscular and assert his dominance against everybody else. No, please, you don't have to do this. We don't have any money on us. We just used it on shopping. I don't care. It sounds like your problem, not mine, the demon would say, getting his voice deeper. That's how Deku was starting to view people now, as demons, because of things they did, he never really understood it. But soon, he would realize why they did it. Stop playing around and give me your money! The villain would repeat himself again. Soon he would get tired of waiting and just go straight to attack Inko. He would send a big fist towards Inko's stomach, punching her guts out. She would throw up. She would throw up again and again. Now, do you want to give me your money, or do you want some more? Without even waiting for Inko to finish her question, the villain would start beating her up rapidly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those punches that she kept receiving over and over and over. And everybody was just running away, and the heroes weren't there yet. It got to a point where Inko wasn't moving anymore. Deku would start feeling some insane rage, worry over his mother and the villain that was doing this to his mother. Please stop. Please. Mom, get up. Deku would say over and over again, wishing his mom would act like a hero and save him and her. Deku would start feeling even more and more rage build up. I wish everything would stop. I wish. Next thing he knew, a light was starting to come around his palm. Again, this isn't the first time this happened. This time, a chunk of the building would fall from above and hit the villain in the face. A pretty big chunk at that. Deku would say, "Whoa, what did I just do?" Snapping out of his madness a little bit. He would start getting a little bit more angry, remembering that the villain was still there after he heard him saying, "You brat." He would start to get even angrier again, and his quirk would activate one more time. This time, it wasn't how he wanted to. One moment to the villain, that there was a child in front of him. The next moment, there was no child. What happened is that Deku's quirk, what he had accidentally did was activate the other side of it, which is the time control. He would accidentally get sent back roughly 12 years to before he was even born. Mind you, right now Deku is like 10, so going back 12 years in the future is like crazy. But before we continue, are you a returning subscriber that one of your favorite what ifs, seemingly wasn't finished? Or do you have a story that you really just want to hear for the first time but is too scared to make it your own? Please, in the link description below, I have made a new Discord server which has so many options. Questions of the day, even has its own leveling system for everybody that wants to chat and have fun. Every time you level up, you get a different perk and a different rank. Higher your rank in my server, the more respect you have among your peers, and it's just overall fun when you're just bored. You can also vote on your future what ifs or what ifs that you want to see return, so make sure to go check out that Discord link in the description and join it because it's about to go crazy. Without further ado, let's get back into this what if. So basically, Deku was pretty much stuck in the past. He really didn't know how to use his quirks, so he would spend time traveling in between time loops trying to find his way home. It would pretty much take a couple of days for him finally to get back to his original timeline, but it wasn't really his timeline. He transported back to when he was 16. Yes, he jumped forward to when he was 16. Deku's mother and father, they were nowhere to be found, and Deku basically was living on his own because his younger self, it was a whole time loop paradox where he wasn't able to use his quirk because there was two Dekus pretty much existing. And yeah, Deku would see on a split screen TV that All Might was still alive and Yue was still a thing. He would think to his head that I'm stronger than All Might. Hold up, I don't have to idolize him anymore. And honestly, I never wanted to become a hero to begin with. I don't really need to become one. So over the next couple of years, Deku would use his powers for himself and himself only. Basically, he would use his luck side of his quirk, basically his privilege part, to get away with things like scams, robberies, anything business like. He would use his power in business to increase the stocks for himself, getting a bunch of promotions. It got to the point where Deku actually got pretty rich by the time he was 17 and 18. He had a pretty much a big stack on him, and it was very respectable. All his peers that were also businessmen questioned how he got to where he was so fast. And yes, there were illegal sides to how he got this, but no one really knew that because this quirk, privilege, that was just overlooked, okay? It was just overlooked. Deku would be chilling in his room after a flashback of thinking how everything turned out his way, and Deku would be pretty excited. He would go out to take the trash and there would be a loud bang again, triggering some, let's just say, some bad feelings from the past. Okay, there stood him 4 people, thugs to be exact. Hey, this is a pretty nice house you got here, don't you think? What do you want? I don't got nothing for you. Oh, you don't gotta give us nothing. We're here to take it. The 4 people would start to jump Deku, beating him pretty roughly. You see, while Deku has only used his power for himself, he never really explored the offensive side of his power, so he doesn't really know how to defend himself. While it may struggle with every single one of those people he was fighting having some sort of mutation quirk, Deku was pretty much on the verge to dying. You know, I really hate people like you, Deku would say while the villains are just punching on him. Again, another white light would start to glow in his hand, and this time the villains weren't so fortunate. A big stake would come out from the sky. Where it came from, no one knows, but it would impale all the villains. Deku would call the police, and to his surprise, his quirk didn't get him out of the situation. The quirk itself had its own limits. It couldn't help him defeat the law or get over something that people knew dead cold was wrong. So he couldn't get away with murder. He would get arrested and get sent to jail for a week while awaiting his judge to tell him the trial. Once it was time, the judge would call upon Deku, and Deku would walk up on the podium and say, "So what's it gonna be, Judge?" The judge would explain to Deku that since he was 17, they really wasn't too harsh of a punishment they could give him. I mean, obviously there were, but they were having a crisis right now in UA, since every single month, basically, the League of Villains would always attack, putting their kids in danger. So the judge would look cold at Deku and say, "I'm gonna give you two choices, son. Either you go to jail for life and face the death penalty, or you become a hero and produce for the government." Deku would look at the judge and think about this for a good 12 minutes. Anything is better than being in this massive place, Deku would exclaim. And next thing he knew, he was enrolled in UA as an assistant teacher. The class he just happened to be an assistant teacher of just happened to be under Aizawa in class 1A with his former classmates, which should have been his classmates, but that whole time thing never really happened. Aizawa would basically give Deku pointers on really how to handle his class. He would warn him about Bakugo the hothead, Mineta the pervert, and basically everybody. But I'm gonna let you guys figure out something, because there's gonna be a little change in here. There'll be a little change here. See, Deku would explain to Aizawa that his quirk allowed him to control fate, destiny, and all that whatnot. And Aizawa would question if he ever tried to use it in a fight before, like in a serious fight. Deku would tell him no, and that everything that ever happened was by chance or by coincidence. See, now Aizawa would go to the support department, and they would find some gear that could help Deku assist with fighting, which just happened to be Aizawa's scarf. It took me a while to learn how to use this, but I think I'm gonna teach you how to use it too. So, while balancing teaching class 1A, dealing with Bakugo, Deku would also learn from Aizawa how to fight in close range combat, and Aizawa would teach him the basic techniques of self-defense and how to fight with his quirk. Deku would pretty much literally learn new ways of using it. He would learn that he could turn back time a couple milliseconds after someone does a blow, so that he knows a blow's coming and dodge that blow. I don't know, it's like Ultra Instinct, but not Ultra Instinct. It's something so spectacular that no one has ever thought about that had a time-based quirk. Before the Spring Festival would come, it's like the second and third Spring Festival, because all the kids already been there for like a couple years. Deku would yet again introduce himself to class 1A. "I'm Izuku Midoriya, and yet again I am your assistant teacher. I know this is gonna be different, but let's try to get along with each other for another year." What Deku hated about working at UA is that every single year there would be another group of freshmen, and the same freshmen every single year. There would always be everybody that talked about him, thought that class 1A was getting special treatment, and from time to time there would be female students that would come up to him and tell him that they really had a crush on him, which he was not interested at all. But I guess it just comes with the job. Hey, enough of that. As I would say while stacking papers, it's your first day here again, but it's time to do. We're gonna be hosting a beginner spring festival soon for all the new kids here in a couple weeks. So for now, we're gonna be training to make sure each and every single one of y'all are ready, and we could win or just have fun. It doesn't really care, doesn't matter this one. As I would say while going back into his sleeping bag, is all he does is sleep. That could whisper to his his head again. Can't believe in that this is all Aizawa ever did throughout his whole 2 years of teaching at UA, or being assistant coach. We skip to the battle parts, and honestly, we're only gonna focus on one battle right now because I want you guys to really know that there's another change in this story. Look, I know you're gonna hate me for this, but Mineta got one for all. But I'm not gonna be like, look. Mineta's different. Mineta is different. Mineta is taller, muscular, more mature. He does not care about females at all. And basically, All Might saw him as the most improved, and Mineta proved himself in multiple ways to All Might that he deserved one for all. He didn't even know All Might had one for all, but yeah, Mineta has one for all. Deku would think something's a little suspicious about Mineta because his quirk description said he could just pop balls off his head. That's thick. They never said anything about him being able to crumple himself in purple lightning and throw them at superhuman speeds that could match the damage and speed of a cannon or bullet. No one else ever really caught on to this or never cared. They just thought that, oh, that's another kid. But Deku oddly saw a similar resemblance between Mineta and All Might at times. And basically Mineta would adopt Deku's mindset a little bit. He would be more cool and chillax, but he would have that fanboy mindset of All Might because that's just how he is. So let me break down what Mineta can really do. Mineta can control the size of the balls and a little bit of how they move. So if you can throw them straight, he can make one of the balls curve in midair, or all of them, which gave them the illusion that he had some type of telekinesis quirk as well, but Mineta just explained that he was just built different. Once the tournament starts, they pretty much go the same as the ones you guys already know, but no one would really fight Deku. So Deku wouldn't fight Todoroki. Todoroki still hesitant to use his fire side because no one ever told him that whole entire stupid speech. Bakugo would still be Bakugo, but Mineta was going crazy. Mineta was literally top 10 in this tournament. Mineta was going crazy. I'm gonna just tell you right there. Mineta was going crazy. I'm sorry, my impressions are very stupid. But basically the alarms of the UA would go off and a big dome would come over the whole entire stadium. Villains are infiltrating. Villains are infiltrating. The loudspeaker con would say, not again. Every single hero would look up and think in their head, why can't they give us a break? The League of Villains have always attacked the UA festival, any type of UA event, the school, at least 3 times a month. And every single hero inside the facility was getting tired of it. Let's get into this. Next thing Deku knew, every single hero was falling to the floor. Boom, thud, thud. They were all knocked unconscious. Even some of the students too. What's going on? He thought. What? Is this a quirk? Why am I not affected? What do you think? What do you guys think? Why do you think he's not affected? AKA privilege. Okay, AKA privilege. Some quirks can't really work on him because he has privilege and luck. A big menacing monster would start coming out of the door and hole that he had burst through with a fire in his hand. The monster would start to say, it was a noble. Yes, it was a noble. And a pretty high advanced one at that. It was an intelligent noble. Bring me All Might. The noble would struggle to speak. Deku would look confused and say, what are you? Bring me All Might. The noble would say again in a more menacing voice. With the fire quirk in his hand, the noble would start blasting forward. The atmosphere around Deku was getting harder and harder, and he could hear nothing but the screaming pain that the noble was going through. Deku would quickly dodge outside of the nomu's range, and with his fake quirk, he was able to dodge it. Him and the nomu would start throwing hands, and Deku being quite proficient in his scarf fights, or whatever the gear is called, from his training with Aizawa would be able to hold his own for a little while. Bink, 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 bink. The fights that the Nomu and Deku could hear, but the Nomu was really overpowering Deku with his other counterparts, quirks, which just happened to be a strength quirk as well. Deku would try to use his quirk to try to rewind time a second, but his Nomu's attacks was too fast for him to be able to dodge. He would be able to dodge some of them while they were fighting, but what's the point of knowing what's coming if you can't dodge it? Deku's power and arms would start to give out, and the Nomu would grab him by the neck. Deku was still a novice at using his quirk to fight, so the fight did end quite quickly. The Nomu got him by the neck and lifted him up in the air. "You are all might," the Nomu would say, and would begin to crush Deku's skull. "I am here." Everybody could hear a loud voice in distance. It was All Might. Now, will All Might save Deku, or will Deku die and All Might die too? To be continued in part 2 of the What If, and I'm sorry for the sloppy storytelling. I'm very tired and I have been very busy. It's like, it's not even crazy. It's not even crazy, bro. Please stay tuned for part 2 because I have a lot of plans for this story, and I hope you guys will love it. Bye.